Greatest Cards of All Time podcast number 26. Gus Zernial. We have two 1952 Topps cards to look at. One is a PSA 3 redback, and the other is a PSA 4, which happens to be a blackback.
Very cool cards, very iconic cards. Before we get into a little more details on the specific cards,
I was hoping you would say that.
yeah, I have a little background on his career. One of his nicknames, Ozark Ike, and that is not because of where he's from, actually. It's from a comic strip character. So Ozark Ike, another nickname because he was one of the more feared hitters in the early 50s. He was early on referred to as the new Joe DiMaggio, which I thought was kind of interesting. And while looking into that, it's also my understanding that Gus is the one that introduced Marilyn Monroe to Joe DiMaggio.
Whoa.
Which I thought that was just an interesting little tidbit note.
I would say so.
To comment on. And to just expand a little bit on how feared he was, in 1953 he actually led the league in intentional walks with 11. I don't think it was all that common to do intentional walks.
No.
Because power hitters weren't as common back then either. You know, it was kind of not as much, present day baseball. There's a lot of power hitters, a lot of home run hitters. Back in the early 50s, I don't think it was as prominent. So he led the league in walks in 1953. He also had 11 intentional walks, I'm talking, in 1952. He didn't lead the league then, but again, 11. His years were really good in 1951, 1952, and 1953. He received some MVP votes in 1951. He didn't win the MVP, but did get some votes. Was not an all-star. He was only a one-year all-star. He led the league in home runs with 33, RBI at 129, but he also did lead the league in strikeouts at 101. In 1952, he also had 29 home runs, 100 RBI, and in 1953 he had 42 home runs and 108 RBI, and that is the actual year that he was an all-star. So, 51, 33 home runs, 52, 29 home runs, 53, 42 home runs, and an all-star, and also received some MVP votes. So, really, really quality offensive player early on in the 50s. So talking about the 1952 Topps Gus Zernial, number 31. Obviously, the elephant in the room, it's not the one on the card.
I love the elephant on the card.
I do like that, but it's the 6 cards that are actually on the bat. How they secured those 6 balls to the bat, I'm actually not sure. I tried to find that out. On top of that, you also have what looks like the OK symbol with his left hand, which...
Yeah, he's definitely doing that, yeah.
Right. So that is 3, is my understanding. The OK is really
he's
actually
giving a 3 sign?
3 fingers, and the 6 balls are related to the 6 home runs that he hit in 3 games.
That's a super cool insight on a card like that. And what do you know about redbacks versus blackbacks?
Okay, I actually know a little bit about that. In Series 1, all of the cards 1 through 80 had a red back and a black back version. The red back actually is better quality, picture quality. So if you look at these, I think that does hold true. The picture quality, the blue, and the face looks clearer on the 3, which is actually the red back. And when you compare it to the PSA 4, to me that blue, the background, the face, it just looks a little bit darker. The jersey looks a little bit darker. I would say the quality is not as good of a picture, and that is the black back. And that does make sense because the black backs were actually made first. So, this was Topps' real first full production run, making a set of cards. The original black, they were probably still, ironing out some of the issues that they had. So the red, it looks like the picture quality, they kind of ironed that out a little bit and had a little bit better picture. So covering the card, the back of the card, I guess we can see some stats there.
I love the Topps baseball old school stamp print at the bottom too. I really like that,
Okay.
surrounded by a couple of stars. That looks classy.
I like that too. It does talk about basically the how many home runs he had, and that he actually did hit another home run in the 7th game. So just a really impressive, like we talked about, long ball hitter. As far as his career, he played from 1949 to 1959, was a one-time All-Star in 1953. He ended up hitting 237 home runs over his career, 1,093 hits. His batting average was 265, runs 572, RBI 776.
It's a stud.
Pretty good. Now,
Pretty good baseball player.
Career WAR. So,
oh boy,
we did cover some of the information we actually pulled from Baseball and Bubblegum, the 1952 Topps collection. And the little piece that they had, I didn't necessarily agree with what they indicated. They made it sound like he was no slouch on defense. He can make some spectacular plays out there. But when I started looking at the numbers and the WAR, he had a negative defensive WAR. His WAR would have been better, much better. His career WAR was 8.4. But even when I go through those years, 1951, 52, 53, where he actually had some really good offensive numbers, his WAR brought his defensive WAR brought down his WAR each year. So his defense was not great. If he was a DH, he probably would have had a better WAR and a better career, just based off of that negative defensive WAR.
what do you think about this card overall?
Overall, I like 52 Topps. I think a lot of people like 52 Topps.
Yeah, I really do, yeah.
The old school team logos have changed over the years. It's very, very uncommon that you would have the same logo from the 50s than you do now. And no difference here. This is actually, a crazy logo. So this is when he played with the Philadelphia Athletics, right? So this is the Philadelphia Athletics jersey and Philadelphia Athletics logo, correct?
If that's the case, yeah, that seems accurate.
So yeah, the card, this is probably, even though it's not the best player, it has a cool story. You can read part of the story on the back and put the pieces together, obviously, with the picture. It being 1952 Topps, very cool. It's not always the best player that ends up becoming the most collectible. I mean, the number 1, number 5, 1 through 5 stars are always going to be collectible. But every once in a while, you'll have that card, that kind of one-off card where, maybe they were great for 1 year or two and it really sticks out. Or maybe there's something unique about the picture. This is a very unique picture.
A story behind the picture, too.
There's a story behind it.
Super cool.
It's 52 Topps. It's the first year where you really had Topps with a full production. And, I love the card. It's very cool.